and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk a little bit about RV living and the things that I really either didn't expect or didn't know, or maybe some mistakes that we've made as beginner RVers. We've been living in here since September, and we've had a few mishaps and I guess a lot of things that I just didn't really know or think about before I got into this process. And a lot of these I've kind of touched on in different vlogs and stuff like that, but I wanted to kind of do a compilation of it, so then if you're getting ready to do this or go on this journey, then you'll kind of have an idea and know before you get into it. So at least I can say I told you so. When we first got the camper here and kind of getting our utilities, so getting electricity I thought was going to be like super simple and easy, and like you would just call the power company and they'd come and hook it up. Well, it was not like that. It was a lot more of an in-depth process. It was a whole lot more expensive than what I ever imagined. We ended up having to get electricity for the permanent building that is beside of our camper. You can't get electricity just for a camper because it's not on a permanent foundation, or at least where we live you can't. I had no idea about that because we know of a lot of people who have RV'd or lived in a camper, and so we didn't know that that was an issue. Well, at least I didn't know that. So we ended up having to like buy an electric box. I don't know what they're called, and you have to put that on the building. That way we could run a cord, kind of like our camper power cord, over into there. I still don't get all the terms and technicalities of it, but we had to do that. We also had to pay for them to run like the electricity up to the pole. We had to get all the materials for that. It was so expensive. Well, at least a lot more than what I thought. So I think the first couple months when you first move into a camper are like full time and like trying to get everything adjusted, I did not realize how long it was going to take until we actually started saving money, because it took a lot more time just to get this like kind of like the house situated, and then it took more money than just going out and buying a camper, I guess you could say. So yeah, so the electricity part was terrible. We ended up having to literally it was like the end of summer and it was so hot. It was like 70 plus degrees. It was so hot in here. I'll never forget it. Like, I'll never forget that because it was so terrible. And then the second thing that kind of goes along with that, and it just being like so hot in here and kind of miserable without electricity, was I had no idea how long it would take to renovate the camper or paint the camper more specifically, or how hard it would be to paint it. It's just so many different nooks and crannies. There's wood, there's vinyl, different types of materials that you have to work with. You have to prime everything, multiple coats of primer, and then you have to paint it multiple coats, and it just took forever. And not only that, you have to like take all the cabinet doors off, and so you had to pray for good weather outside so they wouldn't ruin. It was just, if I hadn't had the help that I had from my family, it would have taken me so long. It was terrible. I would come like every day after work. I would come on the weekends, and I would say it took about 2 weeks, and that doesn't really sound that long, but it was a lot of hours within those 2 weeks. So I had no idea how long it would take to paint a camper and how difficult it will be. And like I mentioned in my last vlog, there are some spots where the paint is kind of peeling, and I'm not really sure why. I'm thinking it has to do with a little bit of the the moisture that maybe gets inside of a camper. I did prime and I did paint, so I don't really know what the issue is, but that's probably something that I'll have to work on this summer. I've noticed little chips and stuff, and it's only happening on the vinyl, which obviously vinyl is the hardest to paint and get paint to stick to. The wood and everything is fine, and it's really just certain areas near where moisture would be that the paint is kind of peeling. So that's also something that I did not think would happen. So yeah, that's gonna be a project for the summer, I guess. Another thing that I knew it would be like something you had to think about, but I didn't realize how much you would have to think about it or how likely it would happen, and that was just like the breaker kicking and the amount of electricity you can have. So I kind of just assumed like if you had enough outlets, maybe that like you would probably have enough like it would be okay. But no, if Tyler has the TV on and I have a hair dryer blowing and something else is plugged in, like the breaker's gonna kick. Or if you have the TV on, a heater on, and then you like put something in the microwave, it's gonna kick. And honestly, it wasn't as bad. I mean, it was really bad in the beginning because we were getting electricity off of my parents' house, so it wasn't like our own electricity. It was coming from some pole, and it couldn't take that amount of electricity, and so we would kick that one all the time. It was terrible. But now that we have our own electricity, it's not as bad, but it can still happen. It's better because we don't have to like go outside and fix a breaker. It's just in our breaker box inside of here. But it is something that's a little inconvenient, but it's not like the worst thing in the world. So I guess just prepare for that. Another thing, which I also kind of mentioned in my winter RV video, is just things freezing and the whole winter situation. So I guess I knew that winter would be tough. Like I had a feeling like it was gonna be difficult because it was our first winter and we never really done it before. But I had no idea like a water filter would freeze and bust. Like that was probably one of the worst things, because the whole bottom part of like underneath our camper flooded, and then it started to come into the camper, and that part freaked me out because I know that water is like terrible. Like you don't want to get a water leak or anything like that. So for me that was scary, but luckily it was just a little bit and it's dried out and everything's fine. My stepdad and Tyler had to rework the water thing down below in our little storage compartment. I don't really know anything about that stuff, but I just know it was a water filter and it busted. So who would have known? I didn't know it would do that. I thought maybe the pipes would bust or something like that. Just dealing with the winter temperatures, you have to make sure that you leave your faucets on so that your water doesn't freeze. The toilet water could freeze, which isn't fun. So that's just some of the things you have to deal with when you're RVing in the wintertime, I guess. Okay, this one this is one that's a little embarrassing, but it's something I didn't really know about. I kind of knew about it because growing up when I was little, I went camping a lot with my mom and my stepdad. We would go like on the weekends every now and then, and I knew that like you couldn't flush certain things like tampons or a lot of toilet paper. Like obviously the whole waste system is a lot more different than a regular house. Well, in my mind, I thought that our thing was kind of like hooked up like a house because the water and sewer that we have is I don't really know the technical terms of this, but it's set up like for a house, but it was, I guess, permitted for 2 houses. So ours is a little bit different than I guess an RV park maybe. I don't really even know. But so in my head I thought, okay, so you can flush toilet paper and all that kind of stuff because it's just going straight down into like a sewer system thing. Well, that's not true. And when you have a fifth wheel, at least in our fifth wheel, underneath, like I'm up here on the bed part, the like pipes go across. Like it goes for like the toilet's over here, it goes across and then down, and that's where it all went wrong. Like it got stopped up, it didn't work correctly, I used too much toilet paper, tampons and stuff like that, and it caused a mess. It stopped everything up and it was starting to leak around the toilet, which is disgusting. And so it took us a while. We weren't able to use our toilet for a while. So yeah, that was one of the major mishaps and mistakes that we made, and I just wasn't aware of it. I didn't know about it correctly, and so really it's just a little bit of trial and error when it comes to beginning and starting this journey of living in an RV full time. And so I think just having people that have done it or knowing people who know a lot about campers really helps. And honestly, my stepdad has been like our saving grace when it comes to handy type stuff, because we just aren't familiar with it, but we are obviously learning and learning very quickly. So those are the things that I really just didn't know before getting into RV living, some of the mistakes that we have made and things that have happened. So hopefully you found this interesting and informative. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to comment and subscribe, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys.
You better turn up. You better be there when I shake. Watch me rockin' if I can't stop. If I should fall, just go ahead. Go and catch me, baby.